Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Kabir Considers. In this video, I'm going to react to the best stadium in every US state. Now, I love these types of videos because, you know, like we all know America's huge, and the amount of anything, like you can think of any one thing, and America has a lot of those things. So to identify the best of that particular thing in a whole state, you know, each state, I think, there's probably like 3 states that are smaller than the entire UK. The rest are probably larger, so they're huge areas. So to pick one out of all of those 50 states, it's going to be pretty difficult. So I'm intrigued to see what choices, you know, are picked in this video. So let's do it.
The United States of America is like 50 countries in one. Some states were kind of their own countries at one point, and so the differences are obvious. But
where is this? This looks amazing.
They are all united by sport.
California.
Even in Alaska they play football, if you can believe it. So, just for fun, I'm going to select the best stadium in each state. Well, when I say the best,
whenever I see this one, I love it. I just love the shapes.
I just mean my favorite. As you'll see, it's not based on science. Anyway, who's first? We'll start off with Sweet Home Alabama. Bryant-Denny Stadium. You're always going to be hard to beat when you're part of the 100K club.
Yeah.
But it's more than just a big bowl of concrete. The facade on the southern side is quite easy on the eye, and they've even got some covered seating up top. The complete package, more or less. Alaska.
Yeah, look kind of like a coliseum.
The state that was so cold the Russians wanted out.
Really?
Kathy Parker Field. I remember when I was a little boy, I'd often get asked what my favorite stadium in Alaska was. And
yeah, right.
I didn't have an answer.
Yeah, right.
It was a controversial topic. But I've since come to my senses and realized that it's whatever I said. Yeah, it's barely a stadium, but you can't say that it's boring. Unsurprisingly, they like their indoor sports in Alaska and have some decent arenas, but they don't count.
Wow, so is that the only stadium that they have in Alaska? There isn't actually a proper one, like a proper, because Alaska's huge. I would have thought that they must have a market for sports there.
Arizona, the land of iced tea. I have to go with the sleek and stylish State Farm Stadium.
Yeah.
It's very convenient to have a retractable roof in this climate, and it seems to be considerably better than Chase Field. I was slightly tempted by the unique setting of Sun Devil Stadium, but State Farm is state of the art.
Yeah, I agree.
Arkansas, also known as the Natural State, or Arkansas. It has to go to the biggest in the state, Donald W. Reynolds Razorback Stadium. Although it doesn't have a ton of competition in the state.
Looks kind of old school.
The recent development of each end zone seating has really tied the whole place together and made the world of difference. California.
This one has to be the SoFi Stadium. Has to be, right?
It's California. It doesn't need explaining. This is a tough one, but there's just no way I can choose any other than the world's most expensive stadium. SoFi Stadium is in a league of its own when it comes to amenities, and the interior is just incredible. In some ways it's like an NBA arena that's 4 times the usual size, just because of the complexity of the seating. I promise there will be some baseball stadiums chosen soon, alright?
But why didn't they make it bigger? Like 70,000, they should have made it bigger, I think.
Colorado, the nice flag state. You see, this is where it gets personal. If I was trying to be objective, I'd mention that other stadiums in the state have superior amenities. Nice. But style has to count for something, and so does that view.
Whoa.
And the way that Folsom Field blends in perfectly with the very Southern European architectural style of the campus is just beautiful. Connecticut, just like Arkansas, a bit of a confusing spelling. But I suppose if you try to say Connecticut over and over, it'll eventually turn into Connecticut. This was a tough one yet again, but the Yale Bowl is just too iconic and influential that I just...
Yeah, I love this one. It's crazy how flat the seating is. It's almost like a flying saucer.
Had to give it its due. The design might seem extremely basic, but back in the early 20th century, it was anything but that. Delaware, the off-brand Tupperware state. It does have an impressive racetrack, but that doesn't count. So we'll go with Daniel S. Frawley Stadium. A minor league ballpark with a nice brick facade with a blue trim tying in nicely with the team's name, Blue Rocks. And it has a decent view of downtown Wilmington. Yeah, not big, but not bad.
Yeah, looks fairly simplistic, but it's kind of nice.
Delaware is a small state, alright? Florida, the appendage of America. There's a lot of competition, but it wasn't too difficult to choose. And it's all about that exterior. Doak Campbell Stadium's facade is the largest continuous brick structure in the US.
Really?
And it's absolutely stunning. Even if you absolutely hate sports for some reason, I'm sure you could appreciate its beauty. It also has an interior.
It also has an
Georgia,
interior.
the state that's bigger than a country that goes by the same name.
No way, it's bigger than
Mercedes-Benz Stadium was probably the most extravagant stadium in the world when it opened.
It does
and
look
I
great.
guess it still could be.
It looks fantastic.
With its unique exterior combined with the one-of-a-kind features, world-class technology,
I love this display thingy here.
and the small things like the glass behind the east end zone that offers views of the Atlanta skyline. Yet somehow in 40 years this design will look old. I can't even fathom that. Hawaii, the state that used Apple Maps on its way to North America. There's not a whole lot of choice here, so I've had to go with the stadium that's no longer in use, Aloha Stadium. But it is still there, it just doesn't have long left, so this might be its last hurrah. It's quite an interesting design. These stands used to be movable, so that's kinda cool. I guess I'll say my final Alohas to it.
Why is it no longer in use? Because, do they not have any sports teams in Hawaii? Or is the actual structure not really safe to be used? Yeah, because it looks pretty good in this picture, but it probably doesn't look like that in real life.
Aloha. We'll miss you. You're gonna get exploded.
This guy's so
Idaho. Potatoes. There are two very similar domed football stadiums in Idaho, so I'll give it to a stadium that stands out, and Albertson Stadium does just that. But it's more than just a blue field, it's a fine stadium in its own right. It's got an interesting overhanging skybox, and from up there, you can enjoy some decent views of not just the field, but the nearby hills.
Yeah, that looks pretty nice.
Illinois, a state known for its Chicago. As much as I love the bizarre mix of old and new at Soldier Field,
nice.
I do mention that quite often, I had to go with Wrigley Field. Not so much for its looks from the outside, but the view from your seat at Wrigley Field is just so timeless. That wall of ivy is just such a beautiful sight, and even the rooftop stands on the surrounding buildings kinda add to the character of the stadium in a way.
Yeah, that wall of ivy is a nice element to the stadium. I'd love to see that in real life, what it looks like.
Indiana. It's not India. Lucas Oil Stadium is one of my absolute favourite NFL stadiums. It just has a lot going for it. The industrial-inspired exterior is one of a kind, really.
Yeah.
And the combination of a retractable roof as well as this huge retractable window is also quite rare, if not one of a kind. And the view out of that window is quite nice. All of those features are just icing on the cake of what would have been a fine stadium regardless. Iowa. I've got nothing. There is another similar sized stadium in Iowa, but I'll go with Kinnick Stadium. Not necessarily because I think the design's better or anything like that, but what gets it over the line is the fact that at the end of the first quarter, the crowd actually waves to those watching from the adjacent children's hospital.
Yeah, the Iowa wave. I love this tradition. It's honestly, I watched a video to this about 4 or 5 months ago and it brought me to tears, legit, like it really did.
Which is just about as heartwarming as it gets.
Yeah.
Kansas, also known as the Sunflower State or Kansas. Children's Park is probably my favourite purpose-built soccer stadium in North America. And in a bizarre coincidence, it's named after a children's hospital. So props to them for that equally heartwarming gesture.
Absolutely.
I just love that roof canopy, and the interior might be even better.
It is nice looking.
Kentucky, the state that introduced Southern Fried Chicken to the world.
And thank you, Kentucky, for that.
There are a couple of college stadiums of similar size and a fantastic little soccer stadium, but I've got to give Cardinal Stadium the slight edge. I've said it before, but it wouldn't look out of place in the NFL. It has that same sort of cutting edge design that a lot of NFL teams go for, while still maintaining some of that college flair.
Yeah, I like the asymmetry of the stands. You've got this huge sweeping one and then this kind of shorter one here.
Louisiana, the state that made fried chicken even better. Apparently, Popeyes isn't a thing where I'm from. They do have one NFL team, but just so many FBS college teams. I like the Superdome, but spectators never get to see the light of day. So, the less technologically advanced, but far more intimidating Tiger Stadium takes it. I love the mismatch of the different extensions that have been added, especially those very steep seats behind the south end zone.
So, the steep seats, that's what are referred to as the bleachers, right?
And the imposing facade that it backs onto. Maine. Not even close to being the main state in the country. The main stadium in Maine is in the main city of Maine, Memorial Stadium in Portland, Maine, which I ascertain is the main stadium name in the US of A. But for good reason. You know what I'm saying, my good Maine? Well, that rhyme was insane. But I bet for those listening it would have caused disdain because it's gonna get stuck in their brain. Whoa, I'm like a runaway train. We get it! Move on, jackass! However, I'm gonna give it to another stadium in the same city, Hadlock Field. Due to the Sea Dogs being an affiliate of the Red Sox, it has its own green monster, just like Fenway. Strange how this arena sort of juts into the ballpark. It was there first, in case you're wondering. Maryland, the state that has 2 NFL stadiums but just one NFL team. However,
what? Why? Why does it have 2 NFL stadiums but one team? Did they move from the first stadium to the second stadium, or did the second team go bust or something?
But Oriole Park at Camden Yards set the bar for MLB stadiums, and has since been, well, not copied, but other ballparks have drawn inspiration from it. None have that same warehouse though that, although it's outside the stadium, certainly adds to the charm of it. Massachusetts, the state that I always forget how to spell the name of. Although Bostonians typically love the Patriots, I get the feeling that their love of Fenway Park outweighs their love of Gillette Stadium. Maybe
a lot of MLB stadiums have this kind of aesthetic, you know. Obviously, because it's a diamond, they kind of don't really have much choice about the arrangement, but they all kind of look the same from a certain angle, if you know what I mean.
Maybe it's because Gillette Stadium isn't even in Boston, or maybe it's because the old school Fenway Park is one of a kind. Everything about it is unique. The green monster, the unusual outfield seating, and the dimensions. And like a lot of European stadiums, it kinda ran out of room to expand. Michigan, the Great Lakes state. This one will be a little controversial. Michigan does have the largest stadium in the Western Hemisphere, but the design is a little bit, well, there's not much to it. Comerica Park is a fine baseball stadium.
I don't know. I kind of like the Michigan, the LSU stadium just then. It kind of looked a bit like the earlier one that was really flat, like a flying saucer. Kind of futuristic, even if it's not really modern, if you know what I mean.
I love the way it opens up to a panoramic view of the Detroit skyline. Sorry, Michigan Wolverines. I guess you'd be pissed if Ohio Stadium is included. We'll see. Minnesota, the land of 10,000 lakes. Take that, Michigan. I don't care how great your lake is, it's outnumbered.
Wow.
It's what might be my favourite NFL stadium. Even though it's a permanent indoor stadium, I think I'd take that in Minneapolis over a permanent outdoor stadium any day.
Looks really geometric.
It apparently resembles a Viking ship, but I'm not sure the Vikings were this advanced. Either way, it's absolutely stunning.
It looks amazing.
And it's purple. Mississippi, the counting state. A state dominated by college football. It has 3 that have a capacity of over 60,000. But Vaught Hemingway seems to be the best of them. It's a fairly straightforward single-tier bowl design.
This is another one that's a really common design that I'm seeing in American stadiums. You've got this huge bowl type structure with the single sort of grouping of seats. There's not really like a break in between, and you've got this brick facade at the front. Really kind of popular design.
And with a few modern touches here and there. The added seating over on the east and south seems like the place to be. Chairback seats and under a roof. Missouri.
I'll be deep in the cold, cold ground before I recognize Missouri.
Even if Grandpa Simpson doesn't recognize Missouri as a state, I am legally obligated to, and it's his loss because they have some excellent stadiums fighting it out. But I'm gonna give it to Busch Stadium. It just has a bit more character than the rest, and you get a freaking view of the arch thing.
This is the arch.
I know what that's called. It is called, let me just rack my mind, my brain, the Gateway Arch. I knew that.
It looks pretty
Beautiful
cool. I like
stadium
it.
though. Montana, the state that is very keen to let you know that they had absolutely nothing to do with this thing. Also a very beautiful, sparsely populated state that doesn't have many stadiums as you might expect. But Washington Grizzly Stadium is quite nice, and it's overshadowed by this huge hill, also known as a mountain, which is called University Mountain, named after this university. That's why they put their stamp on it so no one steals it. The Dutch forgot to do that.
That was fun. There's definitely some, you can tell that there are certain designs that are quite favoured in the US. Like particularly the bowl structure that I mentioned, the one that has like a kind of, like the seats are all joined together going up it. And to be honest, if it's like quite easy to build those stadiums, it makes total sense. I'd love to know, like, what does it cost to build a stadium like that? You know, the ones that I've described, because stadiums here are obviously extremely expensive to build. You know, nowadays you're looking at like £500 million, which is about what, $650 million. So yeah, let me know how much these things cost. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.